Your summer lawn problems got you so frustrated you went on to these social media groups or lawn forums to get diagnostics if you've got grubs or you've got a lawn STD that's so rare that nobody knows what it is. Well, today we're gonna go over my summer lawn diagnostic steps so you can get to the root of the problem and get your lawn back in order. Now, when it comes to diagnosing a lawn, the worst thing you could possibly do is just throw mud against the wall and hope that it sticks and guess at what's going on. So today we're going to go over my summer diagnostic steps, and to cut to the chase, I've done thousands of these on-site lawn assessments over the summers, and I'd say 90% of them just came back to the fact that they had too little water or just too much water in the soil that was causing the dysfunction. Now, more likely than not, your soil just doesn't have enough water in it to sustain the needs of the grass. I know this probably isn't what you want to hear, because messing with sprinklers is about the worst thing ever, but grass itself is 70% water. So without water, the grass is gonna brown out and it's eventually going to die. First step to my diagnostic approach is we wanna look at colors and patterns. Now, patterns can be a very telling sign. The two random patterns that I see associated with lack of water are rounded edges of brown grass, what look to be where the sprinklers aren't hitting, or a pattern of what looks like cheetah spots, which is a long history of lack of water. Now, these areas are commonly surrounded by green grass, or the entire lawn is kind of brown. Now, these two patterns are most common from what I see, and they're all associated with lack of water. When it comes to colors associated with lack of water, they're commonly going to be brown and orange. Now, the orange is usually caused by fertilizer burning due to the lack of water. We also wanted to take an up-close personal look at the blades of grass. Now, if we have some specks or some random discoloration on the blades of grass, we may be dealing with a fungus, but if the color is overall brown, like 90% of it or more is just brown, it's most likely a lack of water that has caused the damages. Now, step number 2 is a pull test. Now, online keyboard warriors love to come to those forums and see those brown spots and immediately say that it's grubs. Now, when it comes to grubs or other turf insects, we can simply do a pull test to see if we do or do not have turf insects. Now, as you would expect by the name, pull test, we're gonna grab and pull on the grass. Now, it's important to grab a handful of grass, not using those crabby pinchers. Anybody can rip some grass out. Now, the point of this exercise is to see if the grubs or other turf insects have been feeding on the lawn and actually causing damages. Grubs will feed by the root, sod webworms will feed by the stems, so you're going to be able to pull something out. And if your lawn does not pull out like slices of pizzas, or you don't have a handful of grass, you most likely do not have turf insects. Now, let's just say that your lawn does pull out like slices of pizza and you've found active grubs. You can follow my video on how to kill grubs by clicking on the card up above. Now, step number 3 is a soil saturation test, and this is probably the most important test that you can do. This test can be done by using a soil probe or just a longer screwdriver, and ideally, want to see about 6 inches of water saturation in the soil. Having an AMS soil probe is extremely convenient for checking out soil saturation. It's got this chute, so I'm going to get a visual representation of how much water is in the soil. It also allows me to really put all of my weight on here. Now, you don't have to have one of these. You can just use a screwdriver like I said before. We're going to go to the greenest section of the lawn first and put a medium amount of pressure on just to see how far the screwdriver or soil probe goes down in an area that's already visibly green and has enough water. Then we're gonna go to the dry spot and use the exact same amount of pressure. And you can see we've got about a 2-inch plug, and at the very end here, it's just bone dry. Now, to take it one step further, we move on to step number 4, and that's doing a water output cup test. Now, it's wise to do a water output cup test to not only identify where we need to make proper sprinkler adjustments, but also to have a solid idea of how much water we have coming out of the system per hour. That's gonna help you identify how many minutes per zone you need to run. I picked these rain gauge cups up from Amazon. They have specific markings in inches throughout the cups, so you can pretty much use any like-sized cups or tuna cans. You just need to do the markings manually if you don't want to use these. Next, we're gonna set these up in a grid pattern fashion throughout the zone. Then we're gonna run a 20-minute watering cycle. We're gonna see how much water is in each individual cup, and we're gonna map it down on a piece of paper. Now, after the 20-minute cycle, if the majority of the cups, for example, have 0.2 of an inch per cup, then we know our output per 20 minutes is 0.2 in the zone, and our hourly output would be 0.6 inches per hour. Now, if we have some cups higher or lower than the median, we know that those areas are going to need some sprinkler adjustments. Now, as far as how much water you're gonna need per zone, that all depends on how much evaporation is occurring in your local area. And you can consult your local extensions to the agricultural department. It's very common for them to have local area data that'll tell you how many inches per week that you need to put down on the soil to keep up with evaporation. Now, if you're in an emergency situation, your lawn has been brown for longer than 4 to 7 days, my suggestion is come down to your local nursery, Home Depot, or Lowe's. Pick yourself up a bag of Revive. It's a granular based system. It's really just made out of dried poultry waste, which is a fancy way of saying chicken manure. What it does is it helps reinvigorate the microbiology of the soil, helps retain water, but also just gets everything moving again like a regular fertilizer should. The rates on this are about 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. You can expect results within about 2 weeks. My suggestion is do a return interval in 2 to 4 weeks after the first one. But again, this is assuming that you fixed your watering problems first. Now, as I mentioned before, I've done thousands of on-site lawn assessments over the last 15 years, and I'd say about 90% of them came down to improper watering. So if you want to slay that lawn, get out on the lawn, perform these diagnostic steps. In the meantime, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up down in the comments down below. You know I'd love to help you guys out. Till next time, guys, it's the Pest and Lawn Ginger. We're slaying lawns.